Mr. President and Vice-Chancellor, as public orator, may I present Richard Armitage, a candidate for an honorary degree. If more people valued home above gold, the world would be a merrier place. The dying words of the Dwarf King Thorin Oakenshield in the third film of The Hobbit. It is the gift of great actors to make you forget who you are watching. Richard Armitage, who plays Thorin, sets greater importance on telling someone else's story as well as possible, rather than showcasing his own personality. Yet he is one of the most recognizable actors of our time, with accolades across an exceptional range of media, not only film, but the stage, television, and voice work. Despite his fame, Richard is rooted in his family and in this county. He grew up near Leicester, attending Huncote Primary School and Brockington College. His father, John, worked as a scientist at the General Electric Company in Leicester. His late mother, Margaret, ran the local post office and was responsible for setting up Red Hill Field Primary School. His brother is a groundsperson at a local cricket club. The family are lifelong supporters of Leicester City Football Club, and his younger family members include a talented footballer and a budding actor. Richard's interest in performance began at the County Academy of Dance. His family encouraged his early interest in music, especially through the Leicestershire Schools Symphony Orchestra. A county council grant, which he describes as life-changing, allowed him to attend Pattison College, which specializes in the performing arts. After A-levels, he worked in musical theatre before focusing on conventional drama, in which he found his true vocation. Funded again by the local education authority, he enrolled at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, and after graduating spent several years in the Royal Shakespeare Company. With a growing public profile, he began to win prominent television roles, most famously as mill owner John Thornton in the BBC production of Mrs. Gaskell's North and South. As further offers came his way, he was drawn to characters who are pulled in different directions, like Guy of Gisborne in the BBC's Robin Hood, or Lucas North in Spooks. International recognition followed. In his most famous film role, that of Thorin, from which I quoted earlier, he identified, rightly, as every reader of the book will know, the internal conflict that the Dwarf King finally acknowledges to Bilbo Baggins. A struggle between ambition and lust for treasure on the one hand, and on the other, sensitivity, self-doubt, fear of failure. Audiences loved it, and Richard won a Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actor. Returning to the stage in 2014, he mesmerized London audiences as John Proctor, the protagonist in Arthur Miller's The Crucible. As he often does, Richard prepared by immersing himself in the character's backstory, putting in weeks of tough labor on a farm. He describes himself as a concentrating actor, living with a role for months so as not to lose the vibrations. The result is that audiences are enraptured by his authenticity and intensity. For this performance, he was nominated for an Olivier Award and won a Broadway World UK Award for Best Leading Actor. Latterly, he has had leading roles in Marvel Cinematic Universe as actor and voice artist, as well as on Netflix and in acclaimed independent films. He is particularly excited by adaptations from literature, which chimes with his dedication to the audiobook. His reading of Hamlet was Audible's audiobook of 2014. Early in the pandemic, he received a What's on Stage nomination during a production of Uncle Vanya. When it closed, he turned to recording Chekhov's short stories, for which, again, he has won an award. A great writer once said, "Once you find you can do something, find something you can't." Richard has never stood still, and his latest ventures have been into producing and writing. His reading of his own first novel, Geneva, a crime thriller, will be out on Audible very soon. Despite his worldwide profile, Richard remains devoted to Leicestershire. It is a happy coincidence that the graduates here today include some in archaeology and ancient history. Not only was Richard born on the anniversary of the Battle of Bosworth, but because of his father's keen interest in Richard III, he is named after that king, whose remains were found by the university's archaeologists. His production company is even called White Boar Films, after Richard III's heraldic device. Richard Armitage is an actor's actor, a consummate professional. As we celebrate the centenary of our first student, it is fitting that we should honour a son of Leicestershire who has carried his values of family and community around the world. He is also a shining example of how education changes lives. Mr. President and Vice-Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present Richard Crispin Armitage that you may confer on him the honorary degrees of Doctor of Letters.
Wow, Nigel, thank you very much. You've been on Google. I'd forgotten I'd done all that. President, Vice-Chancellor, Fellows, graduands of 2021 and 22, friends and family, thank you so much for this honor. It really is a gift. I would like to acknowledge everybody here today and the 7,000 graduates this week who are receiving an actual degree and who have worked very, very hard through extremely difficult circumstances in the past 2 years to get to this point. Congratulations, you did it. So the last time that I was here at the De Montfort Hall, I was about 13 years old, and I'd somehow managed to blag my way into the Leicestershire Schools Symphony Orchestra for some pretty dodgy cello playing. It sounded a little bit like a cat being strangled. I'm not joking. And we had a huge concert in this room, full house, massive orchestra, and I am absolutely bricking it. My palms are sweating because I'm terrified that I'm going to be playing out of tune. So what I decided to do, my dad's here, but he doesn't actually know this story. I decided to move my bow around on the cello in time with everybody else without making a sound. 3 hours later, at the end of Elgar and Sibelius and Mozart, there's a huge standing ovation. We all stand up and bow, and I have not played a single note. And in that moment, I had this dawning realization that maybe I could have a career as an actor. So I did. But I have the city of Leicester to thank for that opportunity, because as you heard, I received a scholarship to go to the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. And without that investment, I wouldn't have been able to go. Which brings me on to you guys, you beautiful people. Today, you're here because of considerable investment from your friends and family, investment of your own time, the support you have clearly for each other, for your professors, your teachers, and your mentors. All of us will be watching and waiting to see, what are you going to do next from this day forward? I remember my graduation from LAMDA, sitting where you are. I might have been a little bit drunk, but that's actors for you. But there was some actor up on stage, well-known actor, giving all of his advice. So to quote Oscar Wilde, I always pass on good advice. It's the only thing to do with it. It is never of any use to oneself. So I'm going to pass mine on to you, and feel free to ignore it. Don't worry too much about the destination. Try to enjoy the journey. What does that mean? Okay, so when I was 7 years old, I went to Huncup Primary School, and I had a teacher called Mrs. O'Leary who read The Hobbit to us. She was the most brilliant reader. I think she was an actress, really, inside. 33 years later, I'm on a plane to New Zealand, the other side of the planet, to film Peter Jackson's film trilogy, and I'm reading the book, and I can hear her voice in my head. So I knew I was heading to the right destination, but it was like full circle. The seeds had been planted when I was 7 years old. And if you think about those stories, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, the whole thing is about a journey. Once they get to the destination, the story's over. So all I would say to you is, hard as this profession or your profession, whatever your chosen profession is going to be, try to just look out the window occasionally and enjoy the view. The second thing is competition. We're always shielded a little bit from competition, but when you get out into the big wide world, competition will be there, and it's inevitable, and it can be a little bit painful and excruciating. I'm not very good with competition, so how I've managed myself is to not worry too much about what other people are doing, but just focus on the competition within yourself and try to celebrate other people's success, because when it's your turn, they will clap for you too. Finally, reputation, and I really, really believe this. This is from my heart. Your reputation is really the only thing that you can control. Look after it. Try to leave a good impression. Always try and show the best version of yourself. We all get a bit sloppy, but in the age of social media, if you do get a bit messy, make sure it's in a dark room and no one's filming it on an iPhone. I once overheard my mom talking to her friend in the kitchen, and I was eavesdropping. I shouldn't really have been listening. And she said, when Rich says he's going to do something, he really does it. And it really changed my perception of myself. I think it kind of changed my life, and I was trying to articulate why, and I found this quote from Abraham Lincoln. He said, "I am a success today because I had a friend who believed in me, and I didn't have the heart to let him down." So I'll leave you with this. Listen to those people who believe in you. I believe in you. So good luck, Godspeed, and go change the world. Thank you.